you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Moore
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. Pierre, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, Jimmy. How you doing?
Good. Were you on the road again today, or did you have a little time to just breathe?
No road today, but tonight busy.
Okay.
This is a long wedding process. Not for me.
No. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
But lots of events around it. So.
Lots of yes.
Gotcha. Pierre and I just, by the way, check your phone. I don't know if you saw it. You had mentioned something coming onto the air we can't say here, and that was going on, and boom, you were right as usual. Anyhow, Pierre, let's go to Edmonton right now. That's what everyone's talking about. Connor McDavid's comments today. And look, I don't think that people need to freak out right now if the Oilers fans and they want him to stay there. But there were some interesting things that he said. And the one that stood out to me the most was when he said, we're holding this together. We're trying to get it over the finish line. With that being said, ultimately, I still need to do what's best for me and my family. And that's who you have to take care of first. And there's nothing wrong with him saying that's fine. I understand that. But I guess people are starting to get nervous about this, and that he said that, and he said me, not the team, and all that. My question to you is, when players speak losing the Stanley Cup final, only a few days from losing, emotions are still running high. How much of this do you take at face value, considering how raw he still is, and then how much you look at it and say, yeah, he's just frustrated?
Well, I think there's a lot that goes into it. You know, there's a lot of emotion. I remember saying to Scotty a long time ago, I can't even imagine going through this entire process to get to the final and then losing. And he doesn't just done it once. He's done it twice now.
Yeah.
That takes a lot out of you physically and mentally. So as much fun as they're having down at the Elbow Room in Fort Lauderdale, on the other side of things in Edmonton, I'm not sure they're having a whole lot of fun right now.
No.
So it's two different situations, obviously. I wouldn't doubt anything that a star player like that says. Some people say, oh, he's just speaking because he's frustrated. Or some people say, oh, well, that's just the emotion of the event. Anytime a star player speaks, they know their words matter. And more times than not, they're calculated. And they're very smart about how they utilize their words. In this case, I wouldn't doubt him on anything he says.
All right. So we have to store that away then, because that could be telling, considering where this goes. If he's not signed by, let's say, opening faceoff of this coming season, do Oilers fans start to really get worried?
Well, I think the only way he's not signed is if he chooses not to sign.
Right.
The team's going to pay him whatever he chooses to make.
Right. He can dictate it.
So that's not the issue. The issue is going to be, and I think we talked about this yesterday, you and I, he's going to go in there with his representation and he's going to say, okay, Jeff Jackson and Stan Bowman, what's your vision for the future? We took a step, even though they're going to say, oh, we took another step forward. I believe the Edmonton Oilers took a step backwards this year.
I'm with you 100%.
And I said it before the season started.
Yep, you did.
So and if you doubt me, Jimmy will go get the tape. I thought all these pundits from all across Canada, and it's amazing. I've seen some of it now, how much backtracking has been going on.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
Yep.
You know, it's like the new term is, if you really doubt me, I'll show you the receipts. So some of these people that are making statements now, if I were the Oilers, you know what I'd do? I'd have a group of people with the receipts, and I'd say, that's not what you said about us at the start of the year. That's not what you said about us in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Totally with you.
I would just, if I were Connor's rep and Connor, I would want to sit down with Jeff and with Stan. I wouldn't count the coaches in that.
Okay.
Because I want to know what their vision is as a management team going forward in terms of how they're going to make it better. Like, what are we going to do to take the next step forward? Because Stan didn't do this. Jeff and whomever was helping him, they did it last year. They did it with Arvidsson. They did it with Skinner. They did it by not being able to match up on Broberg, and they did it by not being able to match up on Holloway. That's on them. That's not on Stan Bowman.
Or
that's not on Chris Knobloch.
Yep.
So whomever was helping Jeff out, those are the people that need to say, okay, that's not happening anymore, but this is what we're going to do to fix it.
Mm-hmm. And one of those things you agree needs to be to address the goaltending. I mean, it's just.
I don't this is, first of all, Stuart Skinner's a tough guy. He has to be.
Exactly.
There's no way he can. I give him so much credit, Jimmy.
Yeah.
He comes out, he faces the music, he doesn't point fingers, he puts it all on his own shoulders. He's a tough guy, and he's a proud guy, and he should be able to fit into almost any organization, including Edmonton.
Yep.
But as a starting goalie, I say no.
No, I'm with you on that. I heard you, and I want to preface this by saying, I mean, Pierre said this yesterday on Melnick. We're just tossing out ideas like I'm about to do right now. And I heard you mention, would you ever, if you're Edmonton, why not inquire about Jeremy Swayman with the Boston Bruins?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been thinking the same thing for a long time, Pierre. I don't know if they did last year. I have no idea. I've been trying to find that out, but I could never get confirmation on it. But I'm 100% with you. And this is why. And people are going to say, well, the Bruins aren't going to turn around and trade a guy after they sign him to that whopping contract, to an 8-year contract. And I say, well, do you remember Joe Thornton? He was traded 3 months after he signed his extension. So it happens. It's not unheard of. I would look at them and I would definitely inquire. But then when I was thinking about that, I went home and I was kind of looking at their lineup, and I'm going to pull up Puckpedia again right now, just so I get the numbers right. I've heard people say, like, I have friends always saying to me, Pierre, would Edmonton ever do Draisaitl straight up for Swayman? No, I'm with you.
No.
Because you know why? Then you're definitely losing McDavid, I think. Because
they're not doing
right.
He
needs to be.
So here's what everybody has to wrap their head around for 1 second.
Yep.
Because making trades, and especially fantasy-like trades, and this is kind of it's sexy. It's fun to talk about. It stimulates you.
But it's not real.
But players like Draisaitl don't fall off trees. If they did, everybody in the league would have one.
Yep.
They don't all have one. In fact, there are only about a couple teams that have guys anywhere close to that.
Yep.
32 teams in the league.
Yep.
Those guys don't. I'll never forget his junior coach, Mark Habscheid, called me up one time. And Mark, just congratulations to him and to the Sutter family, Brent Sutter in particular. Mark's going to work for the Red Deer Rebels.
Oh, wow. Great.
I'm really, really happy. I just saw Mark before, so I'm thrilled for him. But all I say is, like, he told me a long time, this guy's going to be an unbelievable NHL player, Pierre. And this would be way before Edmonton drafted him. He said, I'm just telling you, this guy's going to be an unbelievable NHL player. And I said, I believe you, but I want to see more. Like, I got to see him.
I think he's just as valuable as Connor. To be honest, I really do at times. I think he's been just as valuable as McDavid.
He had 52 goals this year. Nobody in the league had more.
Right? So
he's really
the other thing
good.
I try to tell Pierre, and this is going to happen a lot, right? Because we're entering that period with all sorts of rumors flying around and all this. And I try to tell my friends this, and you taught me. When you're trying to look at potential trades and you're saying, would this thing work? Always start from the opposing team. Not the one you're cheering for. Go to the other team. And when you're going through the players, say, if I'm them, would I do this? Don't look at it as if you're looking through a Bruins fan's eyes, because of course you think they're going to do it, because you're not really getting into the inner workings of the other team and how valuable each player is to them. So I look at that, right? And I'm 100% with you on Draisaitl. And the one guy I kept coming back to, Pierre, is Bouchard. Because the Bruins need a right shot D. And that's the only guy that I think would make any type of trade with the Oilers fit. I don't know what's going to happen with him in terms of his contract. Obviously, he's an RFA, but I think he would be a good pickup for the Bruins to put on the right side next to Hampus Lindholm.
They also need somebody to run their power play.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a good question. Yeah.
He fits there too. And if you went, let's just say McAvoy 1 and he replaces Brandon Carlo, so he's 2 on the right side.
That's where I'm thinking.
That's a heck of a move, and I think that eventually Edmonton could find somebody that could fit in there. Not saying that Bouchard's going anywhere, but if you wanted to try to do that deal, that would be a good starting point for both teams.
Yeah.
And I think they could expand off it on both sides.
Yeah, it could become a bigger package.
Bigger pack. I don't think it's just one of those. Well, it's one for one. I think it'd be a big.
That's very
but
hard.
that's like the framework how you start it, and then you can work off
Okay.
that.
So,
I could see how that would have legs. I definitely could. But I mean, if you're telling me that Edmonton's going to trade Leon Draisaitl for Jeremy Swayman, I'm going to say, forget it. That's not happening.
No, because you're making yourself weaker in one spot to strengthen yourself in another.
Well, not only that, you made the best point of all. If you do that, McDavid's not staying.
Yeah, you lose him. You lose him because he'd be like, come on. All right. Pierre, jumping over Dallas Stars today, signed Matt Duchene to an extension. Look, I think it's a very comfortable cap hit for him. I don't mind it at all. The only thing I look at with Dallas, Pierre, right? This is a team that's kind of been getting to the conference final, can't get over the hump. Is it change anything? Like, I mean, was he that important to that team to keep, or was he maybe the type of guy who maybe you said, maybe we do something different in that area? You know, like maybe we reshape things a bit. I'm just surprised they did that so quick with Duchene. I don't know about you.
I'm not. They need the points.
Okay.
They need the points in the lineup because Ben's not getting any younger. Sagan's not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they need the point. They're going to probably lose Mikael Granlund.
Yep.
They need the points. So one thing Matt can do, he stockpiles points in the regular season. He's really good at that. And so I would say that's probably why that deal's there. And again, we talk about that neighborhood in the West. It's not easy.
Crazy.
It's a hard neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Now you look at St. Louis. I'm convinced with Montgomery being there for a full year, having training camp, St. Louis is going to be a much better team. I think Minnesota is going to be a really good team. Just look at it. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to get points in this division and in this conference in the West in particular. You got to score points.
Yep. And I'm looking at their cap situation right now too, Pierre, and they are only right now they're at 455,000 in space. That's it.
So here's where it gets a little dicey. So Granlund probably moves on.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to probably see some changes on defense. They've got their American League team in Texas is good, very good. They've got some young guys like Maverick Bork that could come up. Justin Richkovian is another guy that could come up.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting one in Dallas is what happens with Mason Marchment.
You read my mind. I was just going to ask about that.
What happens with Mason? I don't know. Yep. So there's one that you got to look at. I think they'll tweak the line. It depends on who they hire as a coach too.
Right. And how it fits his system. Yeah, that's a good point there. They are definitely going to be an interesting team to look at. Pierre, let's go to the Stanley Cup champions, who I do not know if they've gone to bed yet or left the elbow room. And reports are saying the Stanley Cup has a new dent. So that's interesting.
Well, I saw it was cut on top.
Oh, I didn't see it yet.
I don't know how much that's going to cost, but I know when we had a little dent back in 1991, it was $32,000 or $36,000. I forget. It was over $30,000. So we'll see who's going to. Well, today these guys can rate that in a second, but
right.
If you're hearing background noise, it's almost like we're getting overrun by hail where I am right now. I apologize.
Okay, no problem. I actually think that might be happening here soon. It
actually is hail. I'm looking at it right now.
There you go. Good hail. Nice. So looking at them, the defending champs, obviously a hot topic is what's going to happen with Bennett and Marchand and Ekblad. But when you look at their lineup, Pierre, like, is there anything that stands out that they need? Or are they that deep and that polished in different areas?
They're that deep. They're that good. And don't forget their American Hockey League team is now down 2-1. Mm-hmm. Charlotte versus Abbotsford. Charlotte got blown out in game 1 out in the West, 6-1, I think it was the other night. But they've got players down there too, Jimmy. They've got guys. And don't forget, Mackie Samoskevich this year in Florida, he was one of the guys that came out. He had 15 goals this year. So that's scoring as a depth for it. Now, earlier in the season, he was playing up with the big boys because there were some injuries and different things. They got players. I mean, I'm not worried about Florida. I think Florida's in a good spot.
You don't have like cameras in my apartment, do you, Pierre? Because that's the one guy I was going to bring up, and I was going to ask you, does he take the next step this year? Because I know, and I'll tell you this, I can confirm this, that when the trade deadline, they had teams asking, and every time someone asked, they said no. I mean, obviously it depends on who the return would be, but they weren't just going to he wasn't going to be some toss in a trade.
No, they can't. So I've been watching Mackey play since he's been 10 years old with Mid Fairfield. He and my son were actually line mates.
Oh, wow.
He's a really talented kid. He ended up going to the national team development. He went to Shattuck first, and then he went to the program. Then he went to University of Michigan, and he's a really talented kid. He's really talented, and he deserves all the accolades he's getting. I think he can be a 25 to 30 goal scorer.
So but he's like a middle six guy.
Yeah, he's a really solid player, Jimmy. Yeah, and they know that.
I love his tenacity.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. He's not overly physical, but he's tenacious. That's exactly right. So, no, I think they're in a good – again, when you have Bobrovsky, that cleans a lot of stuff up right away. Mm-hmm. And then you just work off of that. Okay, so everybody says, well, they're going to lose Ekblad. I don't know about that.
I don't know if that's true. Yeah.
Now, I see people or hear people speculating. He loves Joel Quenneville from when Joel worked with him in Florida, and he's going to go to Anaheim. And, Radko Gudas did that, but Joel wasn't there then. But Radko went out, won the cup, and goes out to Anaheim and has done well there. I don't know if he does that or not, but here's what I do know. If there's one guy that I would say, hey, he's going to take a big haircut to stay in Florida, it'd be Aaron Ekblad. Mm-hmm. You just watch him. Just see how he carries. He wants to stay in Florida. Now, I don't know if he does or doesn't. But if you were to ask me, do I think Bennett's staying in Florida? Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. If you were to ask me, do I think Aaron Ekblad's staying in Florida? I'm not sure yet. Mm-hmm. I'm not
Brad
sure.
Marchand?
That's why I used him last.
Yeah,
I think he's going to stay.
I do too. Do you give him? Do you go year by year with him, considering his age now, or do you just
no? Because I want to reward him for taking less money.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
So I'm going to say, how about if we do 3 years, and we're going to pay you X.
Yep.
And the reason why we're giving you 3 and not 1 or 2 is because we respect what you've done for us, and we still think you got a lot of game left, and we still think we're going to win.
Yep.
But we know you're a part of us winning. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's different ways of negotiating it. Some people look at the dollar value. Some people look at the time the time frame of the contract. As you get over 32, if you can get more years, that's always really positive. Before you get there, you want less years so you can get to free agency quicker.
Pierre, did you guys on those Penguins teams, the championship teams? I mean, I know we've discussed Gordy Roberts, but did you have kind of a player that had won way back in the beginning of his career, hadn't won for a while, and then came to you guys and was able to win again? Was it Trottier? Would that be the guy or no?
Brian would have been, but still, Brian was part of the Islanders were really good. They were a formidable force all through the 80s, really. Yeah. It got, a little bit downwards around 87, 88, right in there. Mm-hmm. Edmonton had taken over, really, and Montreal obviously had some pretty good runs, especially in 86. And Calgary, Edmonton was just smoking hot rivalry, but the Islanders were always relevant until about 87, 88, 89, right in there. And then we got Brian in 90.
Had his game waned at all before he came to you? Like,
people say yes. I say no. People were expecting the same Trottier that played with Bossy and Gillies and was, getting close to 100 points and dominating faceoffs and physically so strong. But, the guys around him were getting older too. And Mike had injuries. Mike Bossy had, pretty significant back injuries. Clarkey played such a physical game so that, maybe the points weren't as great for Bryant. But when we did that, I just remembered we watched a lot of tape and did a lot of stuff. And he looked like he was still had a lot of game left to give.
And when he got there, I mean, because I know this is, kind of what they did in Florida. They said, look, we don't need you to be the superstar. Just come in, fit in, find your role. Is that kind of how you approached it with Trotz?
I didn't have anything to do with that conversation. Okay. I was out on the road, so I wish I could tell you more. But what I do know is when I did spend a lot of time with Brian after practice because his family was living on Long Island, and he and I were both living in Pittsburgh, basically by ourselves. Scotty was my roommate, but Scotty was all over the place. I was at the rink. I spent a lot of time with Brian and lots of different conversations, but I don't know what Coach Johnson had talked to him about earlier. I had no idea.
You know, I think that was for me, and I imagine for Martian, obviously, but it was cool to see him just sort of find. I don't think his game had waned as much as people in Boston were claiming it had, but it was great to just see him find that passion again and really just be reinvigorated.
But Jimmy, but I love what you're saying. But think about this, kind of like the Brian Trottier thing. I'm glad you brought that up. Bergeron retired. Krejci retired.
I know.
Chara moved on. You know, that
it was just
not the same. The team just wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. Dominant wingers who control the offensive tempo of a game are far and few between. There are not a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, they're not a lot. And so for Brad, he can make a difference by scoring. He can make a difference by initiating. He can make a difference by penalty killing. He can be on a very good second power play guy. He makes a difference in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
I don't think that was appreciated, not by the fans in Boston, because I do think the fans in Boston really appreciate him.
Yep.
I don't think it was appreciated by upper management.
No, I'm with you on that.
If it was, they would have signed him.
Yep. Totally. All right. Listen, we're going to talk to you about our sponsor Betway right now, because we're going to start the Q&A a little early today so we can get a hard out at 4:45. So let me tell you about Betway right now. You can still go all the way with Betway and win up to $200 on your first bet, or $200 credit on your first bet. If you lose, even if you lose, you can still get credit. So go right there to the QR code in front of you, sign up for your membership, or if you're not watching, go to the website, go to the details section, sign up for the membership there and redeem your welcome offer. This offer is not available in Ontario. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 18 and you must always bet responsibly. I miss doing picks, Pierre. I miss it. I miss the game already, man. I miss hockey.
That's good.
That, but it's all right, let's get to the Q&A. What do we got? CMOC hockey training. Pierre, with Leon and Connor needing to step up with defensive details of the game, how do Stan Bowman and Chris Knobloch have that conversation with them? Also, I think they need to upgrade in the 3C and the 4C. Pierre, I think we lost you. I think Pierre's power might have just went out. So I'll answer this one. I really think his power just when I said that storm was coming in. So I'll answer that. I mean, Pierre would obviously be able to answer it better because he's been in those conversations, but you gotta be honest with players. I don't care what their star caliber is. You have to go in and look them straight in the eye and just be honest with them. Those are part of exit meetings. Everybody gets, I mean, obviously they're going to give those guys some leeway, but you still got to say, and you don't say in a mean way, just say, hey, we think we can help you become better in the defensive zone. And here's what we think we can do, and when we get back from camp, we'll focus on these things, 1, 2, 3, and we'll go from there. And we'll see what happens. As far as them getting a better 3C and 4C, 100% agree. 100% agree. I think they need more speed. I know they got tons with Leon and Connor, but other than that, I think they need more speed on that team. And they, like Pierre said a million times, they lost a ton when they, lost those offer sheet players last year. All right, next question. Bill Van Vagel. How much does the perspectives representation affect their draft ability? How often does a player slide due to their agent or parents? That's a great question. Another one I think Pierre can answer better than me. But I will say, and I'm starting to do more research because we're so close to the draft now. We're just almost a week out. And agents are people I talk to a lot, and scouts. I think, like I said, Pierre would answer this better, but I think they do affect it because they're always trying to promote their client, right? The more they make, the more the agent makes. So I think they do, but that's why when I'm doing my research, I value scouts' opinions much more than agents. All right, next question. And that's no knock on agents. Agents are just doing their job. Juice _031 017. This is for Jimmy. What would you rather see the Bruins do? Trade the 7th overall pick or draft a young prospect? I would rather just see them draft a young prospect, or if they can, figure out some way to move up. But that's not what they're going to do. I'd say if you asked me a percentage of what think? Are they going to trade her? Are they going to use it? Right now, I'm literally at 65-35 and climbing in terms of them trading it. Unless Dane, I always pronounce his name wrong, Dane, unless he falls to them, they think he'll really fall to 7, which I don't think he's going to at all. I don't think they use the pick. And they're definitely as Stefan Rosner of RG. He's writing with us now. He followed up on my Islanders Bruins report yesterday, and he's now saying that the Bruins are interested in Romanoff, which is interesting because they got a logjam on the left side. So that means maybe somebody on the left is going out in a separate deal or going there. I have no idea, but it is interesting that they would be interested in a left shot. So, all right. Hey, Pierre, we back. Did you lose your power?
Oh, we got crushed. Remember I
knew
telling
it.
you we were getting hail?
Yep.
We were getting massacred, and all of a sudden the house started to shake. My brother's house is pretty substantial too. And then everything just went totally dark, like unbelievable. Wow. So I ran upstairs to get my phone to try to get on with you, and it still wouldn't work. And then all of a sudden the Wi-Fi just came on.
Oh, but wow.
That was freaky. I mean,
yeah,
man,
you just
the hail coming down.
You went dark and you just froze. Yeah, you just froze. And it was dark.
Boom. Anyway, I apologize to the people asking questions. I'm so sorry about that. So keep
no worries. Can we put that first question up that we had there? Because you would know more about this than me. How much does the perspective from an agent affect their draftability? How often does a player slide due to the agent or their parents?
I couldn't put a number on it. Sometimes teams have a tough time dealing with a certain agent, and if they know the player is represented by that agent, maybe they want to stay clear of it. But it doesn't. If the kid's super talented, not going to play a role. Now, I will tell you this: I've worked for general managers that have told players, if I hear from your parents after we sign you, I'm trading you, because we've heard stories about your parents. And so I've seen that discussion before. It's an interesting one. But I would say more times than not, if the kid's got a lot of talent, you're not really worried about the other stuff. You know, I just was listening to something about hockey, you know, on the draft coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Character, and we had Paul Fenton on yesterday.
Yes.
Character matters so much in how they do their business.
Mm-hmm. So
if you have a doubt about a player's character, about the player's agent's character, about where maybe you want to stay clear of the guy. But in terms of numbers, Bill, I don't know. I just don't have any numbers for it. Yeah. I don't think it would be a very large sample size.
All right. Next question. Juice _031-017. Pierre, the NHL draft is next Friday. And this upcoming week, NHL teams' final draft meetings will take place. How intense will those meetings get when scouts are fighting for their players they want to draft?
Very intense.
And if they don't, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Most of the intense meetings, though, have already happened. The mid-season ranking meeting is really intense. The final season ranking meeting is intense, but maybe not as much because some guys have longer runways because they play longer. Mm-hmm. You know, they go to the Memorial Cup. Other guys' teams get knocked out in the first round. So the sample size is a little different. That's why that mid-season meeting is really critical. And those can be very intense. Once you get around draft week, the list is already done.
Yeah.
You know, you're just fine-tuning the list. You're trying to acquire as much information and intel as you can about players. But those mid-season meetings, those are good.
Nice. All right, next question. Franco, why was Trent Frederic such a priority for the Oilers to sign? Why was his playoff performance so poor? I think I've given Frederic a little leeway because he did come back from a long-term injury, so I don't think he was up to speed. But I'm with you. I don't know why it was such a rush to give him that many years. That I had no problem with the cap it. It's the years, Pierre.
The years are a little bit different for sure, but they obviously see something we don't know. Mm-hmm. They probably know what he was playing through. He was definitely injured when he went out there. There's no question. He's not the same player.
No.
The summer of working out and training, and you know, now that if you're the team, you say, okay, we just gave you an 8-year commitment. We know you're from St. Louis area. We'd prefer if you stayed up here and trained with us this summer. You know, sinks some roots down in the neighborhood, and let's get to work here. So that could be part of it too, but it is a sizable amount of time. There's no question. The AV doesn't bother me. That's fine. No. I don't have a problem with that.
All right. Next question. Xander B. Hey guys, talking about Dallas, do you think that Duchesne signing further exposes them to Bork being offer sheeted?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the offer sheet stuff is all being pushed by media.
Yeah, for sure.
Media. What are they, not? Is it called X now? X.
X. Yeah.
People on X. That stuff. I think that's being. I'm not sure we're going to see. And if we do, I'll be the first person to say I got that wrong. But I'm not sure that's going to be a big part of this.
All right. Next question. Franco, in your opinion, who are the most NHL ready prospects in this year's draft?
Matthew Schaefer is.
Yep.
He's NHL ready. After that, I don't know how many guys are ready.
Yeah.
And when you say ready, you mean ready to go in and be an everyday player?
Yeah, I think that's what
I would say there's not very many in this draft that are NHL ready players.
Yep. All right. Next question. John Palmieri, Pierre, appreciate the insight on Quinn, coaching the D under Sullivan. Hope they progress. What do you think Keandre Miller could fetch in a trade, fearing an overpayment on Gavrikov or Provorov?
I wouldn't worry about the overpay on Gavrikov. Gavrikov's a really talented kid, hard nose. Watch him play in the Olympics in Korea, and obviously in the NHL with Columbus and with LA. He's a good, solid, steady D-man. Provorov is one of those where you see the body type and you see the skating and you see the potential for offense. You get all excited. It's just not consistent enough. So I'd be more concerned about an overpay there. In terms of Quinney coaching the D, I think that's going to be really positive for the Rangers. And as I said this morning with Jim Cerny, for those that are watching, that's the interview I think the questioner is referring to. It's an interesting thing, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see any improvement with those Ranger defensemen last year. And I'm not pointing fingers at Phil Housley. I'm not pointing fingers at Michael Pekka, Danny Muse, Peter Laviolette. Something didn't kick in there last year, Jimmy, because none of those guys got better. Keandre Miller didn't get better. Braden Schneider didn't get better. Adam Fox had a pedestrian season. They didn't have just Trouba gets traded out of there early. I mean, it wasn't one of those deals. Mancini got traded out of there early. I mean, and they signed Will Borgen with a long extension. Will Borgen's a good player, but I mean, I don't know. So I don't know if you agree with me, but I think he makes a difference. What could they get for Keandre Miller? I don't know what the market is right now. I'm going to be totally frank. I have no idea what the market is for a player like that.
Yeah. And he hasn't exactly had a good season, so his value might be down. Who knows? Next question. Alex Ivanowski, what if McDavid goes the Crosby route and takes a discount, 9.7, we'll say? Then they try to entice Marner to come. It's an idea. I know. There's a connection there, and Marner still ends up winning Canada a cup.
So it's creative.
Yep. We'll give him that.
It's definitely creative. Here's what I just have to ask. So let's just say Toronto wins the cup.
After Marner leaves.
Yeah. And I know it's all about Canada, quote unquote, because it's a Canadian market. So does that mean Austin Matthews doesn't have to play and Matthew Nyes doesn't have to play because they're American? No, I'm just asking the question.
Yeah.
Because I hear this a lot. You hear them booing the American national anthem. You hear the Americans booing the Canadian national anthem. Like if I was in Florida, Sam Bennett's Canadian, Aaron Ekblad's Canadian. Look at all the Canadian guys in there. Brad Marchand's Canadian. I don't know. It's a really creative thought by Alex. I just don't see that happening.
I like it though. A for creativity. All right, next question. Franco, it's probably a dark horse, but I'm staring at the Columbus Blue Jackets roster and cap room, and I can see a fit with Marner there. Agree? I don't think they should be ruled out. I don't know if Marner would want to go to that market, Pierre. I have no idea, but yeah.
I think anybody with cap room's a marketplace, but you also have to, if Vegas gets in the hunt, if let's say Florida Panthers were to ever get in the hunt, I don't know. Just throwing it out there. What about if Carolina gets in there? I have no idea. By the way, who put it out there that the Florida Panthers or the Carolina Hurricanes are the preseason favorites to win the Stanley Cup?
FanDuel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know how you can even put odds out there right now.
That's right. The only reason I ask is, are the rosters set for next year?
Yeah, that's going to change dramatically, I think.
Like all the rosters haven't been set yet, so I don't know. That's kind of why we're doing this exercise, I guess. I don't know.
Don't go on. And by the way, too, I wouldn't suggest betting any of those futures right now on Betway because a lot's going to change. All right, next question. TG Pierre, if reports are true that Dobson wants $11 million per year, I have not seen that report. If you're the Islanders, do you sign him at that number or trade him?
Trade him.
Trade him. Yeah, he's not. No, I'm not giving him that. All right, next question. Juice, according to Senators reporter Bruce Garriott, if the Senators can't come to terms with Claude Giroux, he would consider signing in Montreal. Should the Canadians be interested?
Well, it's one of the 32 teams in the NHL, so I don't know why he wouldn't consider signing with Montreal.
Still close to Ottawa. Yeah.
It's very close to Ottawa.
I mean,
but
if he comes to you and he says, "Hey, I'm interested."
I'll just say this, and Claude knows I think the world of him. I don't think he addresses, unless they're planning on playing him where Christian Dvorak played in the 3-hole. So Jake Evans in the 4-hole, he's in the 3-hole. And they still have the hole in the number 2 hole because, obviously Suzuki's there. And then it's a question. It just poses, what do you do with Owen Beck? Now that you're in the American League, or do you move him to the wing?
Yeah. That's the other thing, too. How much do you want to risk stunting some of the development of those guys that you maybe.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Next question. CB, does Pierre know any of the pro or amateur scouts not named Ross Maloney that contribute to the Caps' success? Pretty impressive going down the list of buy low acquisitions, high value draft picks.
Yeah, no, a lot of them, and I respect him a lot, starting with Steve Bowman, who's done a great job. He's been there as long as Ross has been there, pretty close to as long as Ross has been there. Danny Brooks, for a long time. Danny did some work overseas in Russia too, and he's also done a lot of work in New England, especially with college free agents. So yeah, I know a bunch of their scouts.
Yeah, they got a good crew. All right, next question. Renaissance Resistor, what do you make of the Zetterlund contract? Oh yeah, I forgot to ask you about that. What do you think?
He's going to have to produce with consistency. I guess that's the best. So if he does, the contract's really good. If he doesn't, then it's not as good. But I think the potential's there for him to produce, but he's going to have to. It doesn't matter what the potential is. He's got to do it to reach and achieve the potential. All
right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, do you think McDavid is feeling pressure from outside parties to leave Edmonton? It feels a little LeBron-ish, 2010. I'm talking about sponsors, agent, and friends about the possibility of leaving. Well, Pierre brought it up earlier, right? Well, you talking to us off the air just about the sponsorship stuff. Yeah, that's huge.
Oh, I bet you behind the scenes there are lots of people doing that. I don't think that's fair to the Edmonton market.
No.
I don't. It didn't serve Gretzky in a bad way. It didn't serve Messi in a bad way. It didn't serve Coffey in a bad way. It didn't serve Yari Curry in a bad way. It didn't serve Grant Fuhr in a bad way. It didn't serve Glenn Anderson in a bad way. Talking about guys that are all in the Hockey Hall of Fame that all played in Edmonton and won Stanley Cups there. I thought they handled it great. Connor McDavid's special. There's no question. He's a special player. Leon Draisaitl was a special player. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins showed his value. Plus, you find out he's playing with a broken hand. And, Jimmy, I've done that. Playing with a broken hand is very painful. It's not fun.
Yep.
Do I think there are pressures that are being brought to bear on him? The answer is yes. Do I think it's fair to the Edmonton Oilers? The answer is no, I don't. I don't think it's fair to them or to their fans. I don't.
All right. Next question. Bill Van Viegel, should Canada do what the Scandinavian countries did a while back and start to focus on training goalies specifically? There's a dire need for top-end Canadian goalies right now.
Yeah, so Bill, believe it or not, those Scandinavian countries got that ideology from Hockey Canada. That's number one. Number two, the guys that really perfected it were Finland. And the reason why the Finns did that was very simple. They knew they didn't have a big enough hockey country to outscore the top player countries like Russia, like Sweden, like Canada, like the United States. So they had to figure out a way where they could play really tight games and still have a chance to win. So they came up with really good training for big physical defensemen, great two-way forwards, and they played simple but fundamental smart ideology hockey on the ice. But the thing that allowed them to take it to the next level was they created a satellite goaltending program where they had one major domo, and then they created satellites around their country where there were 3 or 4 coaches working within the confines of each satellite. They would identify goalies at a young age and work with them all the time, basically 12 months a year. And that's how the Finns have developed so many goalies, and that's why they're so competitive. But the answer is,
Wow.
it is. They were the ones. But Hockey Canada was really the precursor to all this stuff.
Mhm.
And so should Canada be doing that? They kind of already are.
Yeah.
They kind of already are.
All right. We got time for about 2 more here. Let's rock and roll. Franco, if you're a rebuilding team, would you give Kirby Dach a try in your top 6 with 1 year left on his deal?
Yes.
If he's healthy, yeah.
Yes, I would. I would absolutely.
All right. Next question. Bill Van Vegal, I saw the Habs are bringing over Russian-born goalie Evgeny Volikin. Does Primo get traded? Send him somewhere for a chance to play. Philly, Utah, Chicago, etc. Get a mid-rounder in return. I do think Primo might get traded.
I don't think Primo will be back with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. And that's no knock on him. It's just I just think it's
No, you got to look at what they've got.
Yep.
And internally they got a lot.
Give the kid a chance to play.
Right now it's Montembeau's net. Dovich backs up. Fowler gets probably 85% of the games in the American League.
Mm-hmm.
And they just go forward from there.
Yep. All right. Final question. What do we got? Bill Van Vegal. Would Jack Roslovic or Robbie Fabry or Pierre Suter fill the second line center holes for either the Habs or Leafs, or do the teams need to shoot higher?
Shoot higher. Shoot
Good
higher.
depth, guys. But
Pew Suter's a real good 3-4, probably a better 4. Fabry's more of a winger than a center.
Yeah.
And Roslovic can play center or wing, but he couldn't even crack the top 6 or the top 9, excuse me, for Carolina for good portions of their playoff season this year. So I would say no. And they're all NHL players and they're good players, but do they fit for what Montreal wants? No, they don't. Jimmy, do you have more or no? Do you have more
we can
questions?
do one more. You want to do one more?
Yeah. I just
Let's
want to make sure we don't let people down.
Okay. Pearl of Wisdom. With Duchesne being signed, do you see certain players like Marchment getting traded? Yeah, we already kind of touched on
Perlo, I was really concerned about it. I said that to Jimmy before, and it's before we talked about Duchesne signing. The truth is I was worried about Marchment maybe moving on somewhere else anyway. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But you know what? Mason's done a nice job with his career, considering never drafted, starting East Coast League. He's done a really nice job with his career.
All right. We got one more?
Yeah.
Well, I think Shane's telling us we're done anyway. So there we go. Perfect timing. Right on the money. Perfect timing. Thanks, everybody, for all your questions. Thank you to you, Pierre. Thanks to Shane working the boards. And we will be back for a free-for-all Friday here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.